Hello, everyone. Okay, I am definitely being tested today. I just went live 3 times, and every time I got kicked off Facebook. I did Wi-Fi back and forth, and it kept happening. So I don't know if it's a Facebook issue or it's issue here on my end. Our internet seems to be fine. So I'm switching out of live and I'm going to video now. So thank you. If you were on, I apologize if you were trying to watch the lives earlier. We'll get this posted like soon. Okay, I do have some very good, helpful information today that I want to share. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Okay, so I want to talk about growth patterns. And we'll talk about the fact that we give you seedlings that typically in the summer and springtime frame, when things are growing very quickly, usually you're about 2 weeks to harvest. In the wintertime and slower times of the year, when the days are shorter, not as much sun, not as warm, it takes typically around 3 to 4 weeks to get you to harvest. Completely depends on your environment and how much sun you have and how much warmth you have. The more sun and the more warmth, the faster those plants are going to grow. They're going to get established faster and they're going to grow faster. And that's just laws of nature, right? That's what happens. So I wanted to show you last week, we talked about transplant shock. And if you remember, I mentioned that this can happen at times, especially when you are dealing with like extremes in temperatures. Last month, horrible for shipping across the country. And I apologize for anybody where there were a few people who had some shipping mishaps. And, you know, if you just are if you're in the e-commerce world, you've probably heard, you know, with everything that was going on in Texas, that really impacted like the entire country with shipping. We had boxes that were being held in warehouses because everything was kind of held up a little bit. So apologies for that. That does happen at times, and clearly we will replace your shipment for sure. So, but what happened with that, of course, with transplant shock is if those plants are sitting there in a box for too long, and then you take them out and you don't really let them rest a little bit and kind of acclimate to their new environment, and you immediately put them into the pot, they're going to be potentially in a little bit of shock. That's normal. About a week, you wait about a week. So I want to show you, because I had 3 plants I showed you last week. So this was one of them that was very shocked. It has now recovered, very strong growth. See how nice and vibrant, it's just color's good. It's very, the leaf structure is very firm. It's good, it's revived. And it's the new growth that's really happy and coming in. What I did is I did cut, there was like, I think I lost like two leaves on the outer side that were just, and that's what happens when a plant is growing. It's gonna put all the energy into the new growth. And so if you've got one, like see this one, it's like, it's very, see the difference? It's like, and this one's much stronger. And you know, this one, it's the roots are kind of giving up on it. So it's kind of like, all right, go to the side. We're putting all the energy into the new growth. So this one is good. That is exciting. This was another one that I don't know if you remember. It was also like dead on arrival. It was completely not happy, and it is revived, which is great. There's new growth. It's hard to see because it's dark color and dark soil, but there is new growth that's coming out, which is very exciting. And I actually only lost 1 leaf on this one that I took off that just kind of didn't make it. And then here's the kale. The kale totally revived. New growth. This is all new in the last week, and didn't lose any leaves. So it kind of popped back up. So very exciting. I did lose one. So it does happen. I did lose one. I have to admit I was a little impatient because I was like, no, it doesn't look like it's really reviving. And I just kind of pulled it out a little bit, and the root structure was really, really shallow, not deep. It had never really taken. It almost looked like root rot was trying to set in. So I got rid of that one, and I put a new seedling in there. And I'm testing something here. I've got 2 seedlings. I don't know if you can see that. I've got, actually, let me see here. I got 2 different seedlings in here of this beautiful marbled butterhead. And I want to see, because we've got, this is a half-gallon pot. We've got a lot of soil. As you know, our soil is very good. It's got biochar and worm castings and alfalfa meal. It's got a lot of really good nutrients, micronutrients the soil needs. That's all organic biomaterial in there that is wonderful. We added the mycorrhizal fungi, as I talked about last couple weeks, which is really helping that plant grow. And so I actually think 2 lettuce seedlings in here is probably going to work. And I want to test it and see how big these plants get. It doesn't always work, which I will show you. An example, I tested it over here. This is a pot that was on the wall. See, it's a grow pot, and I've placed it in the hex pot that hangs on the wall, and you can see the growth. I mean, this is what happens when it's in the wall, because it's growing vertically. Like instead of just coming straight up, You know, normally it'd go straight up. It's going up to the sun. But you can see I put an arugula in here and I put a tatsoi. And the arugula, couple things I did to stress it out, testing it, is I had a lot of seedlings in there. Like I didn't really even thin it out. You know how we always tell you once it starts growing, you want to thin out the seedlings that aren't so strong, that aren't as thick. You just pull those out so that, because you really only want to have like 2 or 3 seedlings in there for arugula. You know, lettuce, you just really want to have 1. Like I said, I'm testing 2, but we recommend 1. And for arugula, you can do more seedlings. But what happens is they're not good, potentially the leaves won't get as big. You'll get more leaves, but you may not get as big of leaves. But what's happening here when I put these things in to see how much I can stress it, and this is outside, gets a lot of sun. What happened is the arugula started to bolt faster. And remember, when we talk about bolt, it means this. It starts getting, this is the tatsoi. The tatsoi really bolted, and I kept it so I could show it to you guys. But if your plants are doing this, okay, if they are doing this, they're done. You need to, like, you know, the arugula is one of the, that and Mizuna are one of the only leafy greens, lettuces, that you can actually, if it starts to bolt, you can prevent it and cut it back and it will keep growing. Arugula and Mizuna, those are really the only ones you can do that. Once a lettuce starts to do this, you need to take it out. It's done. And the taste will start deteriorating at that point. But this is just, again, I visited one of our customers yesterday, and her arugula was one big kind of tree like this, lots of flowers on it. And I told her, that arugula needs to come out. It's done. And that's because the arugula, once it starts flowering, it's been flowering for a while, it's done. If you can get it early, you can preserve it and continue to, you know, and have it grow. But that's just, I wanted to show you this because it's a perfect example. So what's the learning here? The learning for me on this is, you know, just stick to the arugula with the multi-seeds in here. And next time I will not put a tatsoi in there, because I would probably, this probably wouldn't have bolted so fast. I could keep it, it would last longer. I wanted to show you, this is a beautiful, beautiful, this is a leaf lettuce. It's a marbled leaf lettuce. Now, in the winter, the cool season growing, you start getting plants that have these just really beautiful colors, the purples, and that's the cooler temperature. It stresses it out a little bit, and so it gives it this really pretty color. But this actually was planted at the end of January. So this is an exciting one. I have been harvesting this, and this pod in particular is in the sun a lot. We've had sunny days. So this is one of those things where I was pleasantly surprised that here I am in the middle of winter, and I was able to start harvesting this thing in about 3 weeks. I was able to start harvesting it. So really, this is an example of, like, if you've got it in the sun and it's getting the warmth, it's going to grow. You know, it's going to grow, and you're going to be able to harvest it much faster. It's almost acting like it's spring. So that's an interesting one. Let me see here. Next thing I wanted to say, I want to tell you about next month, March. When we do our shipments, we're going to be shipping in 2 weeks. So today is February 26th. We're going to be shipping the second week of March. And we're going to be replenishing some of your pots for the first time. You're only going to get 2 more pots. So now what we're doing is we're looking at all, if you're in a planted box, and if you're looking at all your containers you have, and you're going to be replacing your bok choy, your arugula, and your Mizuna. Chances are by now that you have noticed that Mizuna and arugula are probably starting to bolt. Even though you're cutting it back, it's probably still continuing to bolt pretty quickly. The taste may be deteriorating a little bit. The Mizuna may be getting really spicy, and the arugula, same thing. You know, the bok choy is probably getting really rough, potentially. Bok choy can last a long time. It's been there forever, right? But we gave it to you in a very slow growing time of the year, so it can last. That's why the arugula has lasted. But it's time for those to come out. So you're going to do a final harvest of those, and don't worry, we will show you exactly how to do that. Next week, I will actually show you how to do a final harvest. And then so you're prepared for when you get your seedlings. And then we're going to be replenishing the soil in that pot. You're going to be using that same soil. You're going to be reconditioning it. So we're going to talk to you a lot about regenerative farming. That's kind of what we're doing. We're regenerating that soil. And that's what we want everybody to be doing. That's what we want the big farms to be doing. So they're not adding the pesticides and the chemicals, right? You want to use the natural organic materials to regenerate. That is how you get really nutrient dense, organic, leafy greens, lettuces, herbs. Okay, this is why this food is so yummy when you eat it. Okay, so that's something to be looking forward to and exciting. We've got a lot of great tutorials and training on that. Next thing I want to talk about what happens in the in spring with the pests. Because as the winter start, kind of the weather patterns start changing, you get different insects and such. And so right now I would start being on the lookout for aphids. Okay. Now we are going to be giving you information about aphids. So you'll have that for sure in your weekly emails and things, and we'll be putting it in the Facebook community. But aphids, they look like tiny little white spiders, like they're tiny, and they tend to be in the crevice of a plant. And so like and there's certain plants that they like if you grow roses in your yard, if you happen to have a yard that you grow roses, aphids love rose buds. So if you have roses, you've probably seen aphids before. But I don't typically see them on herbs. I don't typically see them, I haven't really typically seen them on Mizuna. Bok choy, I've seen them in bok choy. And where you tend to see them, let me bring up this plant. You tend to see them they tend to be either on the underside of a leaf, or they tend to be kind of in the right where the branch is there. But they do like the underside of the leaf. So a lot of times you're looking at the plant and you don't see them. So just kind of lift up your leaves and look and see if you've got little white specks. I mean, they're really hard to see, especially when they first come out. And they don't do a heck of a lot of harm, but what they do, if you leave it alone and you don't do anything, they can cause harm. But if you can be on it, then they won't really cause too much of a problem. What they're doing is they're not in the soil, they're not dealing with your root structure. They're really actually leaching out the nutrients that are in the leaf, okay? They're sucking the juice, the nutrients out of the leaf. So you obviously don't want that. And so what you can do, you can spray them off. You can get your finger wet, little bit of soap on there, little bit of like maybe safer insecticidal soap, organic, or like just mild soap. And you can just kind of brush off the leaf with your finger, just brush it off, and that gets rid of them. If you've got a nice healthy plant, lots of leaves like this one, and maybe it's really on one a lot and not the others, I just take the leaf off and get rid of the leaf. Kale is a culprit for aphids. I've noticed that. What aphids like to do is they like to hide in like the curly, so a lot of the kales, right? They've got kind of a curly leaf and they like to hide inside there, especially the tender young leaves. And so you really want to kind of peel it open and look and see. And if you see kind of like white, almost like white dust, like those are aphids. Okay, so you want to be on the look at that. So get your coffee, get your tea, walk out in the morning and just look at your pots and just make sure you don't have anything like that, because this is the time of year you want to be on the lookout for them. But again, they're easy to get rid of. You can just kind of hose them off, or you can just wipe them off with your fingers, with a little bit of soap and water. They're pretty easy if you're keeping on top of it. Pretty easy to get rid of those. The other thing, if it's a really bad infestation, they're not getting rid of them, you want to use neem oil. You want to spray them with neem oil. This is organic. This is a concentrated version, but you dilute this, put it in a spray bottle, and you want to spray the plant. And then don't spray it every day. You spray it and then you wait a couple weeks before you spray again. But you want to get the underside of the leaves. And this is if you have a bad infestation, it's not going away. You don't want to spray too much with neem oil, because this actually can be harmful to the bees, but 1-2 sprays is not going to be a bad thing for it's not going to hurt the bees, but you want to be careful of that. Okay, now the next thing you got to worry about is slugs. Okay, turning to the season, slugs like bok choy. I've noticed that. Now remember, I've been doing test gardens for 2-3 years now, and the bok choy the slugs like the bok choy. It's funny. Not too many other plants. Kale maybe. I think they like the thicker leaf. I think that's one thing they like. Spinach, I've seen them around spinach. But what you don't see them during the day. That's what's tricky. And how you know you have slugs is if you come out and all of a sudden you have it looks like parts of your leaf. Like you take a leaf and it just looks like there's holes in your inside, like in the middle of your leaf. That is usually a sign of a slug. Sometimes you gotta be careful, because sometimes they could decimate an entire young plant in a night. So you need to be on it and be careful. So they tend to come out at sunset when it's starting to get darker and cooler. This is when they come out. They hide. So with your grow pots, like look, they might be hiding underneath here, you know, like lift them up and look, you might see some down there. If it's in the pots here, take this one off, you know, in between, by the way, here's an example of a grow pot inside our hex pot growing on the wall. So see how easily you just transfer these to the wall. It's easy peasy. But anyways, so like in here, this is where the irrigation flows into the pot when it's on the wall. But there, you know, like in between the filt bag and the pot, there's all sorts of little places for them to hide. And so sometimes I pull the pot out and I look and I see, are they hiding down in here at the bottom? So you can sometimes find them that way. But what you do is you just take your Sluggo pellets and you literally, if you've got your grow pots on the ground, just put it, you know, around in the soil a little bit, you know, just to kind of, and Sluggo is completely organic and it kills the slugs. So, you know, when they crawl over it, it kills them. So same thing with this. I tend to put this, I actually put the Sluggo inside between the pot and the filled bag is what you do there. Okay. And so then, see here, so that's that. And I did mention safer spray. It's again, all this is organic. This is a good 3-in-1 concentrate. This is good insecticidal soap, organic, very mild. And this is good for aphids, fungi, a lot of different, you know, kind of powdery mildew, things like that, is good for that. So that is kind of everything in terms of the training, in terms of understanding the growth, know that replenishing is coming, and what to do about aphids and slugs if you see them, if you see signs of them. And then the other thing is exciting in terms of just kind of programming and what is coming up, because it is spring. And as you guys know, we do our Grow Your Greens Challenge every month. Next month, this month was soup. We have all of the recipes, everything mentioned in the weekly emails and in the Facebook community. You can see all the recipes and the menus for that. But next month, it's going to be all about teas, because it is one of those times of year, right, where you have some cold days and some warm days, and we're going to be introducing some nice herbal teas that you can take off your wall, out of your pots, the oregano, the lemon balm, the mint, all of that, sage, all of those, going to make some really great teas with that. So we'll be doing that each week, which is exciting. Also, we are going to be putting together some spring training. Okay, and it's really, you know, the nice thing, and this is something for you to know, to tell your friends, we are going to be opening up our membership as we get closer to the end of the month. Okay, and we're going to be starting to do some fun things leading up to that. But we're opening up the membership. And remember, as a member, you get $10 off the next month's box or wall, your monthly membership, if you refer a friend and they signed up. So that's exciting. Remember that. Okay. And so because we're going to be opening up the membership end of the month. And what we're doing to get ready for that is I am going to be doing some spring training, and we're going to be give some basics about gardening, about soil. We're going to be doing some basics around nutrition, and we're going to be interviewing some nutritionists. We're going to be showing you what are kind of fun, easy ways to get leafy greens into everyday meals, be it pizza or wraps or tacos, all these different ways that you can be doing that are kind of fun ways to do it, especially if you have kids and maybe they don't like greens. We'll be talking about that. We're also going to be doing a 3-part yoga series, which is kind of cool, introduction to yoga in the comfort of your own home, if it's new to some of you. So we're doing a lot of different fun things all around this kind of healthy lifestyle living. So lots to look forward to. Really important thing in the spring, for the spring training that I'm going to be doing, I really want to hear from you guys. I want to know what questions you have that you want me to go deeper on. So like I said, we do a lot of the heavy lifting for you guys, so we don't go into too much detail. But if you want us to go a little deeper on something, one of the things that I'm thinking about talking about a little bit is kind of what is the whole concept of regenerating your soil, and what are we trying to put back into it, and things like that. So send me your questions, okay? So either post them in Facebook, email us inquiries@plantedplaces.com or Christy@plantedplaces.com, and send me what specifically are you looking for. Okay, thanks guys. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.